Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So, Common Dreams, it's a progressive, I guess, causes type website, came out with a press release or a press memo. This is actually fascinating. And it kind of brought a few things together to me that I didn't really make the connection to before, but is actually pretty damn important. So, the memo is U.S. Constitution threatened as Article V Convention or Article 5 Convention movement nears success. A well-funded, highly coordinated national effort is underway to call a constitutional convention under Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution for the first time in history, with special interest groups gaining more momentum last week as Wyoming became the 29th state to call for an Article 5 convention to enact a balanced budget amendment. Conservative advocates are just 5 states short of reaching the constitutionality required for the 34-state goal. The unknowns surrounding the Constitutional Convention pose an unacceptable risk, particularly in the current polarized political climate. Given how close calling a Constitutional Convention is, it's time to spotlight the risks and sound the alarm for preservation of our nation's charter. So understand for a moment. Even though they're coming up with a single issue, so in this case the Republicans are saying, we're going to balance the budget. Once they get there, the Constitution is exposed. They don't have to stay with the particular issue that they're in. It's called a runaway convention. Yeah, they can do whatever the hell they want. I mean, I made this point before. Power is taken. Power is not necessarily something that people, that they're just given. If the law is vague, which it is, if there's nothing in the world to stop them from going into the Constitution, then you should assume that they're going to go into the Constitution. Yeah, it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. You have 66 out of 99 state legislatures that are in Republican hands. And you're telling me that with that much clout, the guys who were in North Carolina changing the rules for the election, trying to cut the governor's power down because the prior Republican governor lost that election. You're telling me that those guys who was perfectly okay monkeying around with the electoral process would somehow let the better angels of their nature prevent them from changing the Constitution of the United States? Is that what you're going to get me to believe? Yes, this is a balanced budget amendment, but this is not the only thing, or this is not the only issue that's going up in this case of people trying to change the Constitution itself. Let's see, it says, while there are several ongoing pro-convention campaigns, the effort to add a federal balanced budget to the Constitution has progressed furthest. Through 1970s and 80s, dozens of states adopted a call for an Article 5 convention to propose a ballot budget amendment. Some BBA proponents claimed that by 1989, 32 states had called for the convention and a balanced budget amendment. Now, this got backed away because people started to freak out about the idea of runaway convention. Also, the states started to kind of get on that bandwagon too, so it kind of cut down the heat or the pressure for it. But right now, we're 5 states away. And this is specifically for the balanced budget amendment. Like I said, they're single issues so far. So one person will come out and say, okay, I want to balance the budget. Somebody else says, I want to get money out of politics. Somebody else. And those things are floated up. Essentially what people vote on. And once you get enough states, I think it's 34 states, you can call it Article 5 convention. The problem is there's nothing to stop the people from calling that convention, from changing other items in the Constitution. It doesn't matter what they were sent there for. Once they're open, they're open. It can't be affected. So one of the other groups went further than that. You have to understand, some of these groups wanted to actually change the fundamental charter of the U.S. government. So again, threat of runaway convention, influence of special interests, lack of convention rules. They're going into the reasons of why they don't particularly like this idea. So I've already mentioned the threat of the runaway convention, influence of special interests. Again, 66 out of 99 state legislatures belong to the Republican Party. Who do you think is going to fill up delegates at this meeting, at this constitutional convention? You know what I mean? I don't know what they think is going to take place. The same guys who's buying them, who's giving them money, It's going to be the same guys who are making the decisions on how to change that Constitution. I mean, this just seems like a bad idea to me. Absolutely bad idea to me. Uncertain ratification process. Eventually can redefine the ratification process, which currently requires 38 states to approve amendments, including those concerned at the convention. Make it easier to pass new amendments, including those considered at the convention. This happened in 1778 when the convention changed the threshold necessary for ratification. So again, think of it this way. You go there and it says right now, 38 states. And you say, you know what? This is too difficult to do. Let's just make this 15. There's already precedent for it in 1789 where they did the same thing. Again, nobody told them to do that. They did that on their own. And it was enshrined into law. This is dangerous. Threat of legal disputes. No judicial, legislative, or executive body would have clear authority to settle disputes about the convention, opening the process to chaos and protracted legal battles that would threaten the functioning of our democracy. And that one is amazing. No, that one, honestly, to me, that one is the most mind-blowing. It's outside of our reality frame. I know that sounds esoteric, but it is. It's literally outside of our reality frame. We're essentially saying, think of it as if, let me see, how can I say this? Like, so think of it as if, I know. So this idea of a matrix theory or simulation, reality simulation type thing, where for the most part you can find computer code like built into the fabric of reality. It's fascinating. Even this idea of some strange phenomena, particularly with like double slits and all this other stuff. Our reality looks more like a simulation than a necessary, actual, hard, physical thing. If something takes place, let's say not necessarily to us that we can interact with per se, but on the system that's carrying us. So think if you had this amazing computer that you can do all of this amazing technology with. The computer itself is projecting this experience that we ourselves are going through. But if something happens to the computer itself, we can't touch it. We don't even know it exists. It is completely outside of our reality frame, completely non-physical. We don't even know what that looks like. What does the machine look like that's portraying, that's actually putting this existence out? Is it even a machine in the context of what we would think a machine would be? Like, it's hard to kind of get your head around it. This is similar to the Constitution. Understand, the Constitution is a framework of reality of sorts. It's essentially saying, this is how this particular government, the reality in which these people are going to exist, is going to be constructed. And then if somebody goes in and changes something to the reality itself, which elements of a reality that's subordinate to the entire reality can address it? That's amazing. I mean, just the kind of this, the higher elements of it, or the meaning of it. It's fucking amazing. Application process uncertainty. There is no clear process on how the Congress or any other governmental body will count and add up Article 5 applications, or if Congress and the states could restrain the convention's mandate based on those applications. Again, same thing. We're going to see you to do a balanced budget amendment. Okay? Then they get there and they're like, all right, what else do we need? Anything else we want to finish while we're here? There's no reason that the state can force those guys to do that. And even if they say, we're going to prosecute you if you get there and you do something that we told you not to do, they can still change it. What they change is perfectly legal. You can lock them up, but they've still changed that convention. This is a horrible idea. Possibility of unequal representation. There are 66 out of 99 state Republican legislatures. That sounds a lot like unequal to me. There's several of these. I'm going to put this link down at the bottom, but this just seems like a bad idea. So this has gone for both left and the right. For the left, Cenk Uygur. So, for the most part, Cenk Uygur was trying to get money out of politics. And in his mind, the federal government was so bought and so corrupt that there was no way to get anything through the federal government. Those guys are not going to do something that goes against essentially what got them there, taking a huge amount of cash, and doing favors for that cash. So his thought was, we're going to go from state to state, and we're going to get these states to get money out of politics. And because everybody hates having to be courtiers to the wealthy, greedy, fat cat plutocrats, they may do it, Republican to Democrat. So he was going from one place to the next, to the next. And they've had success. If I'm not mistaken, I think they have 9 states that have signed on to it, Democrat and Republican states. I admire what he's doing, and I understand it. It's this thing of, I don't want to just sit here and do nothing. I got to do something. I want to do something active. God bless him. Fair enough. But if this was chess, which it is because he's doing a strategy, so yeah, we're in chess. Premature attacks are deadly to the person doing them. Meaning that just because you're doing something, just because you're being assertive, it doesn't mean that the thing you're being assertive doing is the right thing. It just means you're being assertive. Whether or not it's effective and right and a good idea is separately distinct from whether or not it's action. Yeah, you can do some bad action. This is some bad action. This is a bad idea. There's 66 out of 99 state legislatures that are Republican. What are you going to do? Open a balanced budget amendment and let those guys and trust that they're not going to make other adjustments into the Constitution? No, dude, it's a horrible idea. I understand that you want to get money out of politics, but do you earnestly believe that money in politics is the only issues facing us in this democracy or in this representative government? Even if you want to call it that, I will call it an oligarchic kleptocracy, because that's literally what it is. We all know, everybody, you throw a rock and hit anybody in the public, Congress is bought, Congress is corrupt. They already know it. They just takes it as, oh well, this is just how things are. So you believe that to these people, you're entrusting them with opening the Constitution up under the guise that they're trying to do the right thing to get money out of politics. Do I believe that there's some Republicans out there who may want to? Sure, why not? Do I believe that some Republicans also would say, yes, let's do that Constitutional Convention to get that money out of politics and then loot the place? I think either one of those is applicable. And I think the risk by itself is just way too much. I don't trust this. I don't trust this process. I understand where Jenks is coming from. I even think he's probably coming from the right place. It's still a bad idea. If you want to find some other way, yes, but this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible. He would have to explain to me why on earth he believes that they can constrain the convention. Anything beyond saying, well, we don't know because this is really vague, is a lie. Call it what it is. Those guys are going to get up there and anything can happen in that convention. It's not clear from a legal standpoint. And I just made the argument earlier that it's outside of our reality frame. That thing is a framework. We don't have access to the framework. We have access to the inner parts of that framework, meaning presidency, judicial branch, executive, legislative. Those are subordinate to the system itself. You're opening up the programming of this matrix. Essentially, the ability to change reality. So, yeah, that's a horrible idea. Unless Cenk Uygur can come up and say, this is how you fully constrain how this is arranged, and that the person who's going in no way possible can make adjustments outside of the confines of the things in which we sent them there for. You can't do that. Not honestly. You can't do it honestly. So, yeah, horrible idea. Horrible idea. Thanks, guys.